Hello, everybody. I am so thrilled to have you guys join me. And I haven't done one of these lives in a while, and I've never done one here on YouTube. So I figured this was a great place to be able to answer questions. And I'm going to try to be snazzy and do timestamps in the description. So if you want to rewatch it and go directly to a specific question, that'll make it nice and easy because I know I appreciate when others do that. So um, I am going to go through a bunch of really, really great questions that I've been getting. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. Um, I also would love if you want to interact and yeah, and write in questions here live, and I will try to get to them all. I am going to start with um, a couple questions regarding meetups because I got a question about how many meetups I've had, and I'll go in briefly as to, for me, the importance of it is it was just extremely. I mean, this whole thing's been life changing for me, but the whole thing with the meetups um, has been really, really powerful to feel a sense of community and feel that we are not alone in this fly the freak flag way of eating. And I actually counted up, I think I jogged my memory enough to count the total number of meetups at this one this summer is going to be number 16. So yeah, I've hosted 15 meetups. It's really kind of crazy that to think of it. I'm glad you actually had me think about it. I'm going to keep a list in my notes tab and keep better track of it. But this summer in New Jersey in July 16th is the next meetup I'm hosting. And I know some of you here in the chat are already have plane tickets to fly out and spend some time. And I'm really, really looking forward to it. And like I said, part of it is just the sense of community of meeting face to face and really getting a chance to talk with like-minded people who have all different walks of life, but so many similarities of issues coming to this space. So I know Jackie in the here live is hosting a meetup April 16th. So I wanted to announce that. And it's in the Pacific Northwest near the SeaTac airport. So I'm also going to post about that on Instagram. Let me see. Let me get to a couple of the first questions that I got written over on Instagram. So, yeah, I see some of you are writing that you've got your plane tickets. Some of you I'm going to be meeting for the second and third time, which is so great. And it really is important overcoming this whole sugar carb processed food addiction is having a community and having people to talk to and talk with about this and to really have the support, because addictions are very solitary kind of things. We will tend to sneak food and eat by ourselves. We are not, doing this kind of thing in front of people. And so it's a very isolating type of thing. So that's why I feel like it's really, really great, these communities that are coming together and these groups that are forming. And I've found that it's just been so life-changing for so many of you. And it was for me back when I started Carnivore 13 years ago, that I fell into Charles Washington's group, Zeroing In on Health, and that's how I came to this. But one of the questions actually that somebody was writing in is what brought me to this whole carnivore thing. So some of you don't know my background. I'll just give a little brief synopsis. I'm a optometric physician in practice for 30 years, and I suffered for a long time with sugar and carb addiction and binge eating and eating disorders, and I was silently, secretly miserable. And I could not figure out why I couldn't figure this out. And it really wasn't until I found carnivore and realized that, wow, I can actually be really healthy, avoiding the exact foods that I was addicted to, and that abstinence was the answer. So that's really my my path to this, and it's just, like I said, been really life changing for me. Um, I think that, let's see, what was I going to go into? Um, so somebody wrote in, do you eat just 2 meals a day? And are you concerned about quantity of food? So I usually eat 2 meals a day. I will sometimes eat OMAD, or 1 meal a day, and it really just depends on the day. And I try to tell people, don't really overthink it, and try to keep it as simple as possible, to keep it as sustainable as possible. Uh, the question, am I concerned about the quantity of food? Overall, no, I eat till I'm full. Uh, I will go into one of the other questions, though, is about um, if you have just a few pounds to lose. Somebody said they have 6 to 10 pounds. How can they lean out? This person is lifting 4 days a week and high intensity interval training twice a week, and they're muscular, but they're still carrying fat. So that's sometimes a tough one, because um, our bodies, it depends on what percent your body fat is. That last percentage of fat, that might be sort of on there, like um, our, especially females, there's a certain percentage of body fat that our body really wants to keep as a protective mechanism. So to really drop that, and I found this for myself, I really had to pay attention to calories and get a little uncomfortable. If you're willing to go the extra mile and do that, then it's totally possible, but it does involve really paying attention to what's going in. And somebody who's already lifting and doing high intensity training, all that, you could also bump up just walking. I actually dropped weight as a combination of everything, but walking about 10,000 steps a day. So just have to put in an extra effort if that extra stubborn pounds are there, if it really is a goal. Okay. The next question was, do you eat just, oh no, I already read that. What has been the most influential book you have read on your carnivore journey, and why? So I thought about that. I mean, there's so many really great books. And if you want to look at my list of sort of favorite carnivore books, I'll put a link for the list of in Amazon, I have a recommended reading little separate list. So I have some of my favorite books in there. But when I really think back to what was one of the most influential, was at the very, very beginning, when I was zeroing in on health. We talked a bit about Owsley the Bear Stanley, and there's a free PDF, and I'm going to put a link to that also in the description. It's called The Bear's Words of Wisdom. I believe it's like 318 pages. It's, like I said, a free PDF, just downloads right onto your iPad or laptop. And I found it a very easy, enjoyable read. And I was really fascinated by this guy who had, at the time when we found this 13, 14 years ago, had already been carnivore for, I believe, I'm trying to think whether it was 20 or 40 years, something crazy length of time. So, yeah, see, some of you are writing in there, the Stephenson book, Fat of the Land. That was another one that I found really influential. But this Bear's Words of Wisdom, it was just kind of one of those things that each night I would read a little bit of it. And I just, it kind of, especially because you have to think, way back then, there wasn't this huge explosion of people on Facebook and Instagram, that this was just a really good knowledge base of somebody who had done this a long time. Because of course, just like a lot of you are grasping out toward somebody like me who's done this for 13 years, I at the same time was grasping for the knowledge of, heck, is this healthy long term, and looking for somebody who had done it, for a long time. The other thing I'm going to bring up too, which is a really, really great resource, is the website justmeat.co. So I'll put a link down there for that too. But it's a really great website that has a huge amount of information. And it actually, on that website, there's a section about the bear, Owsley, and you can click on the PDF right in there. But that whole website is an amazing resource of information of pretty much everything carnivore. So I highly recommend having that and keeping that one bookmarked. Okay, somebody else has written that they think they're allergic to eggs. What's a good replacement? And can adults suddenly become allergic to eggs? So the question is the person saying they think they're allergic to eggs. So the best thing to do is just a elimination and do a 30-day experiment and see as far as what changes. And when you say allergic to eggs, some people, is it a rash, an itchiness? Is it congestion? So there's a lot of questions that I don't know about this, but do the elimination and then reintroduce just the yolk, because the egg whites are typically what is an allergic reaction is too. So I would just do that. It's always the best route is eliminate down to the bare minimum and then reintroduce. Let me just say, let me go into the chat just so I can see. You guys are funny. So I see a lot of you from my private coaching group. So this is great. And so again, community, and in my groups, I have everybody in a private WhatsApp chat. So it's basically a 24/7 support, friendship, and just really help as far as accountability, questions, posting different podcasts and YouTube videos that are helpful, and books. And it's just another way out of having a problem with trying to overcome this really difficult addiction. Everybody who's been through that diet yo-yo and then realized over time that yo-yo just doesn't stop, because you keep falling back into face down into the chips, cookies, ice cream, carbs, French fries. It's a very difficult, the food is always in front of us in so many different ways. So I always just say that, I keep repeating, community is the opposite of addiction. Get involved in a group. There's so many groups out there, and it's just really so helpful. Somebody's writing, how do we learn more about your private group and where is it? So I have right now twice a week, on Wednesday night and Saturday morning. And I keep it to a maximum of 20, because I want to get to know everybody, and I want every single person, every single meeting, to be able to ask as many questions as they want and have the discussions directed in whatever direction it needs to go based on the people in there. So you can message me, you can email me, carnivoredoctor2020@gmail. I'll put the information down below, and I will get you the information to join in a group. All right. Somebody asked, are you using the weighted vest? So I guess about a week ago, I posted, I was going into Aldi's and getting a weighted vest, because I've always been curious about them, and I've never had one. And I thought, I'm doing a lot of walking. Why don't I have a method to increase the intensity of my walking? And I just always started shopping for them on Amazon and never bought one. And then all of a sudden, Aldi had one And I was like, yeah, I'm going to get it. So, but no, I haven't put it on yet. It's been I'm here in Florida just on a temporary little break. And it's been like in mid 80s. And I'm just thinking, yeah, I don't want to throw on a 12-pound vest and be out there walking yet. So I'm looking forward to when I get home, doing some walks, and I'll report in on how I feel. But I'm really curious about it. So and maybe I'll even bring it to the gym and walk with it on the treadmill. I mean, burning more calories for the same amount of time seems like a win for me. All right, let me go to, so on that note about the gym, somebody wrote asking about weight training, and I am pretty much adamant. And anybody I privately coach, and I talk about it in the group coaching, that it's really, really important to do weight training. I don't care if you've never done it your whole life. I really basically had never done any sort of, consistent weight training my whole life ever. I mean, I was a gymnast in high school, but I didn't do weight training. And now just realize through all of my research and studies that it's so important, really, really important for the rest of our lives to stress our muscles and get stronger. Because we go through sarcopenia, we get to a certain age, pretty much after 35, our muscles start to dwindle. And we just really, and it's so simple. My weight training routine right now is twice a week. I lift weights and go to failure. And then because it's such an intense workout, it really only takes about 50 minutes. And then you take like 3 days off, and then do it again. I do a full body twice a week. So that's the routine. And I keep standing by it. If you have never joined a gym, just jump in, join a cheap gym. There's gyms for $10 a month. And don't feel awkward or out of place. They will always give you an introductory thing just to show you how to use the machines, and then just start reading some books. The Slow Burn book is the one that I originally read for this method, but there's similar methods. And it's really, really simple, and it's so effective. And if you haven't tried it, don't be intimidated. I've never really had been any sort of weight trainer, bodybuilder, nothing. And I just go in there like I own the place. I go bing, bing, bing. I just kind of figure out who's on what machine, where they are, put it on my setting. And it becomes second nature. So don't be intimidated by a simple weight training routine. I was going to say, somebody wrote in here, the vest is good to use when you're doing squats, and then you don't have to hold on to so much weight. That's true too. Can use it for multiple different things. Sherry Morgan says, I'm in Dr. Barry's Patreon. Love everyone, but I'm looking for a small group for questions and trust. Yeah, so that's one of the really big benefits of this that I love. I do it month by month, but now I've extended it to allow people just to join for the entire rest of the year, because the people in the groups, I love it. They've been continuing month after month. We're getting to know each other, and new people come in, and it's just awesome. We're all eager to hear their story and share with them ours. And it is just, like I said, I love that everybody can participate and share and ask questions every single meeting, and have the in-between on the private chat every single day, 24/7. We have people who are in different time zones. So you could message somebody pretty much at 3 a.m. and have somebody reply. Thanks, Guy. Kelly. So, Kelly, I just brought you up today in one of my private coachings to somebody who is new to carnivore and struggling with, she's got a 2-year-old and a 3.5-year-old, and she's not really on social media, and she's, coming into this carnivore thing and struggling with her 2 daughters and the food and what to do with the parties. And I said, you got to get on Instagram. You got to follow Kelly Hogan and see what she does with the birthday cakes and how she deals with that. And I said, Laura Spath's got little kids, and Judy Cho has little kids, and that's really the best. My experience with my kids, unfortunately, mine were already 10 and 12 or 12 and 14. I can't even remember now. And they were so embedded in mac and cheese and pizza and brownies and pasta. And, and I was having a hard enough time coming to grips on my own about this whole thing and how I was going to navigate this. And so I wasn't there, being the Gestapo. I had ice cream in the freezer and I would make, pancakes with the coconut flour instead of wheat flour. And I kind of tried doing bits and pieces, realizing now that, how bad all this other food was. And so, but again, you have to, at the beginning, concentrate on yourself. But I wanted to help this mom and say, look, because her husband was already carnivore. He was the one that brought her into it. So, but I sent her to the right place. I said, there's lots of YouTube videos discussing that too. So, all right. Somebody writes, do you ever feel like you haven't eaten enough when you eat in a restaurant versus at home? Absolutely. Absolutely. It depends. I'm getting better and better at carnivorizing my restaurant ordering. But I just tell people, you know what? A lot of, you have to look at eating out as a socialization, and you're not going there just for your sustenance. You're not like, okay, I'm using restaurant food as, part of my carnivore. It's really, I say, you know what? If you look at the menu ahead of time and you figure out what you're going to do as far as how you're ordering. I've been trying to be really consistent with recording when I am ordering and showing the menu item, and then also showing ultimately what shows up in front of me on the plate. And that, you just have to voice your your dietary. I'm like really saying I can't eat oils, please. I cannot have any oils on the grill, in the pan. And I feel like you can you can do a lot just by explaining your really explaining your restrictions. And if I'm out with friends who don't really know the way I eat, though, I would just much rather look at the menu ahead of time and just decide I'm going to have a bunless burger, or I'm going to order the steak and I'll just, push around the vegetables or give the vegetables somebody else. But after this amount of time, you can imagine most everybody who I go out to eat with knows all about my carnivory. And I have no problem getting them to put on either extra shrimp or bacon and leave off all the potatoes and veggies and bread. So let me just see. Okay. The next question, it's not so easy to answer because I don't like to be fully dogmatic about saying it has to be this way, but I'm going to read you the question. Diet soda does not cause cravings, so why can't I enjoy it a few times a week? So, Elizabeth, here's why for me. As I came into this whole thing from an addicted, sweet sugar, carb addicted person, I can't have any taste of sweet. It for most people is triggering, and I get all of the people I coach off of their sugar-free gum that they just keep popping, and they got packs of gum in the car and in their backpack and upstairs and downstairs. It's everywhere. They don't realize how much gum they're chewing. And I'm like, your brain is just screaming out for sugar. And that's why you keep popping in the gum. And it's really difficult. And same thing with the diet soda. It's you're just grasping onto that you're like, I don't want to give up my taste of sweet. And here's my kinder, gentler side. If you're doing great and you're on no meds and you have no issues with cravings and you're at your ideal body weight and you include diet soda, then have at it. That seems to be okay for you. For me, there's also another issue of the health aspect of artificial sweeteners and not wanting to put any chemical into my body. I just do not, it's layers of the onion you start peeling off. And once you get through not having all this toxic, grains and sugar and seed oils, and then now you don't drink out of plastic bottles and you store your food in glass and, on and on, that every single, and that's why I end up getting rid of caffeine. It was just another you know, truly non-natural part of the earth. I say, if it's not natural to earth, then we shouldn't really be eating it or drinking it. And I didn't want to be addicted to anything. That's sort of where I came at it with getting rid of the caffeine for me. It was so freeing to get rid of the food addiction that about 10 years ago, just said, caffeine's out. And I enjoy a decaf coffee once in a while. I like the ritual of it, the warmth, the smell, the taste. And especially when I'm away on a trip, I drink coffee much more often. I use it as a crutch when I'm out to dinner with a group of people and everybody's out, at the tables ordering all sorts of desserts. And then I'll order myself a decaf cappuccino or a decaf coffee and just enjoy it. And that's my treat. So I use that in that way. I'm more and more at home just having decaf herbal tea if I want like a hot beverage. But that's everybody's individual journey, and I don't judge anybody. And I certainly don't. I don't head into an initial coaching with somebody and yank coffee from them. That's a whole different issue, and that's not the first priority, especially with people who have been really troubled by ongoing lifetime yo-yo dieting and realizing that just listen to me, sugar is more addictive than it's harder to get off of than hard drugs. I mean, I know people who have had the problem with both, and this is a serious, difficult thing to overcome. And don't take it lightly. And it really has to come from understanding that you have to draw the line and it has to be abstinence. I don't care how much somebody says, no, I can moderate it. There's no moderating this stuff. There really isn't. It's not a moderating type. You don't moderate alcohol or heroin. You don't moderate it. And if any of you have been struggling your whole lives, like me, the light bulb's got to go off. Yeah, haven't been moderating this too well. So, all right, let me see. Oh, I go off in tangents all the time. So I just now reminding myself of that question I was at about ever feeling like you haven't had enough. So with the restaurant, so yeah, either most of the time I don't eat before. I will just have something after because I inevitably always have some sort of grilled pork chop, grilled sausage, grilled steak, or leftover ground beef and taco seasoning in my refrigerator. And so if I'm at a restaurant and I'm just ordering a bunless burger, that's not enough for me. So I will come home and I'll eat more. No big deal. But yeah, that happens often if it's just like a simple meal. If I'm out and I can get a really good porterhouse for two or a tomahawk ribeye, that's plenty. Next question I'm reading here from my Instagrammers. Does too much salt result in a chloride overload? I love getting questions like this because I love just shooting back. Why are we interested in whether we have a chloride overload? Why are we even thinking I just want you guys to just feel that this is so simple and think back to ancestral man. You get the meat you like and enjoy and you eat it, and don't overthink the electrolytes. And here's another question in that same line. How much protein do you eat in a day? Do you have a protein goal each day that you try to reach? That's a legitimate question as far as some people who are into like weight training or some people who are afraid they're not doing this right. I understand the question. I really, truly do. And I have to say, I am so thankful that at the beginning, we didn't talk about macros. We didn't talk about having enough this or that. It was just eat fatty meat, eat till you're full, move on with your day, wait till, and then repeat, wait till you're hungry again. And it wasn't a matter of too much salt, not enough salt, how much protein, too much protein. I pretty much, um, I was eating pretty much two big steaks a day at the beginning. And I did include cheese at the beginning because I could not wrap my brain around how restrictive I felt this whole thing was. And then once I got it and I saw how amazing it was, and pretty much within the first 6 months, I really leaned out and did it without going hungry and without dieting. And I thought, oh my God, this is the magic bullet here. This is the golden ticket. And it was so freeing to not have to count anything or worry about anything. So, especially at the beginning, I tell you, don't stress about the details. Your body knows what to do and your body knows what to crave. And if you're getting over and getting off of the whole sugar, processed food, carb addiction thing, don't don't stress about macros and amounts. Just keep going. Just keep eating enough that you don't want to eat a cupcake. Keep yourself full of really delicious meat, and you will succeed in this. You're not gonna. Nothing's gonna. The worst that you can do is really not eat enough and feel like you are really really restricting. And then at the beginning, people have very difficult time adapting to this if they have not eaten enough. So I'm going to zip over here to the chat. I was a vegan for 30 years and I had autoimmune flare up and went to eating eggs, bone marrow, just added bison bacon last week. Been using Relight the whole time. Didn't know I was doing things wrong. Well, so I don't really know that I'm not really saying that that's anything wrong. Other than eggs and bone marrow is a very limiting kind of um, nutritional profile there. I mean, so yeah, adding in beef, lamb, ruminant meat is important. Um, and I get the electrolyte question so often, and all I can tell you is from my experience, I never used any supplements. I never used electrolytes. Does it help some people at the very beginning transitioning out of a standard American diet? Possibly, probably. I'd say maybe, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I came from a pretty long history of crappy eating, and um, I had a short period of time where I did a little bit of low carb. I didn't know anything really about keto at all. I never did keto. And fortunately, right from low carb, paleo kind of eating, I found that Zeroing In on Health website and jumped right in March 9th, 2009, and said, all right, here we go. I just kept reading in different people's journals on there, and I saw what an incredible change it's made in people's lives. And there was a couple women on there who were discussing their eating disorders and binge eating and how this totally resolved it. And I was all in. I didn't care at that point that to research for weeks or months and figure out if this was healthy or not. I said, you know what, I'm jumping in and I will eventually figure out as time goes on. And as week by week went by, I was just feeling so amazing. And luckily, I ended up researching to find out, like, wow, this really is the healthiest way to eat, and was really thrilled about that. Um, so Kelly says, I tried electrolytes after I was well adapted, and it gave me terrible leg cramps. Some people do well with them. Yeah, and then who knows? I don't know if there's any sort of placebo effect, or people are like, yeah, I got to have my electrolytes, I got to have my potassium and my magnesium and my sodium, but I don't know, again, who out in the savannah is worrying and, ordering on Amazon or going to a GNC store or figuring out where they're going to get their electrolytes? That's how I know I probably sound like a broken record with this whole simplicity thing, but I think less is more. Just let your body do what it's going to do with giving it whole natural foods, and you'll see the miracle happen. Um, Let me see if I can get to a couple more questions over here. Um, so a question is, do you use jarred marinades for grilling or oven baking meats at all? So one of my favorite sayings that I repeat all the time to, acquaintances who are asking about healthy food and what we should be eating, and I aside from not wanting to get into the whole carnivore discussion with most people because they can't wrap their brain around it, but I say don't eat anything that comes in a box, a bag, a bottle, or a jar. Inevitably, those 4 categories, they're a processed food. They've got at least 10, 12, 18 ingredients on them. And so in answer to that, do you use jarred marinades? The majority of jarred marinades have soybean oil, canola oil. Even if you get a pure, Primal Kitchen one, that could be okay for some people. It's not for me. It will tend to send me down the slippery slope. It's a taste sensation to overeat. And in my mind, and people say, well, what do you put on your, what do you, I'm like, I really can just enjoy the meat. I just so enjoy, it doesn't have to be full of sauces. And I do use dry spices, so I gotta say, yeah, I do jazz it up with, either paprika or whole combination. My favorite to put on chicken thighs and chicken wings is mixing a 1-to-3 ratio of curry and Old Bay. It's like, I know it sounds a little weird, but it's one of my very favorite combos to put on chicken and even pork and or whatever. It's fun to just play around with different spices, but as far as marinades and sauces, I just say try to change your relationship with food. I know it's different though if you've got a family and you're trying to make a recipe or make a dish, but I keep coming back to just keep it as simple as possible, and it makes it so easy. I am thinking about doing a YouTube video on sauces, though, as far as different dips, like mixing sour cream with a little hot sauce and horseradish, and using that to dip a shrimp cocktail in. Because people say, what do you do for cocktail sauce? Well, I just usually squeeze a little fresh lemon on shrimp, but I hot sauce is something that I tolerate well. It's doesn't have any seed oils in it, and but if you mix that with a little sour cream and a little horseradish, it's a really uh, spicy, zippy little sauce. And there's lots of different variations that you can do. Putting different seasonings into either yogurt. I'm not a big fan of yogurt. I typically like to use like sour cream or low fat sour cream if you're trying to cut back on calories and drop some weight. Still tastes really good. All right, so somebody writes, help, constipation, took a stool softener and lost 3 pounds. So I don't know how far along this person is in their carnivore adaptation, in their carnivore journey, but the general rule of thumb with constipation is increase your fats and eliminate dairy, and things should get moving right along. And it's not going to stay that way. You're not going to, and technically, constipation is only when you actually get pain and bloating. Just remember with this way of eating that there's so much less waste. Your food is so well absorbed that there's a much less frequency and volume, and some people mistake that for constipation. But I think that that's something that as time goes on, you'll figure that out. Uh, let's see. In your carnivore journey, what book? Okay, I already read that one. Um, this question now says, so you don't cook your eggs and meat with any oil? No, I have no use for a speck of oil at all in my body, none whatsoever. So with eggs, if you're making scrambled eggs, put a little butter in the pan. It tastes delicious. You can use bacon grease too if you like, but definitely no oil. And meat, I see no reason whatsoever to use oil on meat. I do see commonly recipes that they will put olive oil on the meat and then the seasoning, but I see no reason to put olive oil on the meat. The seasoning sticks to the meat just fine, and yeah, I don't want any oil on my meat whatsoever. So I don't know. A lot of people ask that question. And I think it's because so many are so used to cooking in oil. I don't know, but um, let me just look over here. Love cooking with butter and bacon grease. Yeah, that when it comes down to it, you just have to think there's really no use at all for any oil. We just don't need oil, and just the natural animal fat is what you should use as far as cooking. So, um, yeah, never. Yeah, I like to see. So some of you are bringing up that pluck seasoning. So I'm gonna just bring that up again because I never eat organs. That's actually another question that's so frequently asked about the organs because there's so much conversation in this community about eating liver, eating enough liver, don't eat too much liver. Um, I don't like liver. I have not eaten liver in all of my 13 years of being carnivore. So, or kidney or spleen or pancreas or heart. I think that's a given. Um, and I feel perfectly fine. I don't feel like I'm deficient in anything. I don't feel like I'm going to die 3 years earlier because I have not been eating organs all this time. I'm pretty sure Kelly, if Kelly's still here, she doesn't. I know she tried it and ate quite a bit of it every day for a little bit. And I think overdid it and had not such a great time with it. But some people love it, and I say more power to you. Enjoy it. I'm not a fan. I am going to try just different little things with um, making liver pates because I happen to like that, which is oddly enough. But the pluck seasoning it's raw dehydrated liver, pancreas, kidney, heart, and spleen, I think. And it is just, I guess, ground, raw, freeze dried, and ground into, I guess, like a powdery spice form and mixed with Redmond's real salt, paprika. I can't remember the other spices that's listed on it, but I absolutely love it. And I was so cautious at the beginning when I first got it to not put too much because I kept thinking, "Oh gosh, when is it going to hit? At what level am I going to start tasting that off taste that I don't want to taste?" And I got to say, I just use it freely. I don't know if you've seen on some of my recent videos. I have a little container of it that I keep in my purse, and I shake it on my eggs when I go to the diner. Um, it's delicious, and I feel not that I feel like it's mandatory and necessary that everybody start taking organ supplements and eating organs, but I just like the thought in my mind that, hey, I am getting a little organ and damn, it tastes good. I like it. I'm enjoying it. So why not? So that's really my thing with the organs is don't stress over it. I know there's so much out there about eating nose to tail, and I do happen to enjoy bone marrow. If I'm at a restaurant, usually a really nice steakhouse will offer bone marrow as like an appetizer, like roasted bone marrow, or one of the restaurants I go to at home has when you get the tomahawk, there's like this whole bone marrow, roasted bone marrow on the side with it, and I enjoy that, but I don't make it. I'm not a big, you know, uh, I yeah, I'm just not big on offal. That's what they call offal. I call it offal. It's all the organs, brain. I mean, I see all of you will know who I'm talking about. Somebody eating raw testicles and raw liver, and I I'm I don't know. I want you, my goal is to get you all healthy and lean and happy and feel good and not be addicted to food and have freedom like I feel I have, and really feel like you're going to live a really happy, productive, healthy, active life, and not stress that you haven't eaten enough liver this month, or gosh, I've not eaten any brain and I've not eaten any pancreas or kidney lately. I mean, I just, the message has to get out that you just have to, um, you just have to realize just eliminating sugar, grains, and seed oils, processed food, just hitting that, level is awesome. And then, going the next level of eliminating vegetable matter, because there's a lot of evidence that there's toxins in there and anti-nutrients, and there's a whole nother level of health that comes from eliminating nuts and plants and seeds. So I just want everybody to not feel like I'm not doing this right because I'm not eating liver, or I'm not buying these desiccated, um, ancestral supplements. Do it if it makes you feel better, or if you think that, there's something to it and you do your research and you want to get that stuff. I'm not against it. I'm just saying that in my experience, what I did, and I like to project that so that if anybody else is in that thought process of like, yeah, I just want to keep it simple. I don't like organs, and I'm not going to eat them. So um, that's really one of the I love that. I love being at least a representative of the no liver club, except for my pluck seasoning. I'm getting a little fraction of some liver each day, and um, I'm I'm satisfied with that. If something fails in my health and it's directly can be directly blamed on not eating organs, then yeah, let me know about it, and I'll see if I can try to correct that. Um, Let me see in the chat here. Pork belly is one of my favorite new foods discovered since being a carnivore. Picanha is amazing too. Yeah, I really enjoy pork belly. I really, it's delicious, especially, you get a really nice slab from a butcher, and then you cross hatch it by, scoring it with a knife, and you get that crisscross pattern. And I have a video on YouTube that in the air fryer, you have to dry it. I dry it in the refrigerator overnight, the night before, to get some of the moisture out. So when you do cook it, it just is an amazing crunch, and it's a real treat. I can't make it too much because I can definitely overdo it on that. Oh, thank you, Kathleen. Um, yeah, I'm so happy to be here to share my passion, because this has really truly been my passion, to try to help as many as I can who have found this and feel like they are just in need of a little support or questions being answered. Because I get it. I mean, I was there. I was there 13 years ago at the beginning with my head spinning like, wait, what am I supposed to do? How much am I supposed to eat? Wait, what? I can't have any carbs. And it was like just all this noise in my head of like I needed somebody to talk to and communicate with. And that was that my little group that I had back then. And that's why I feel it's so important now that everybody be able to reach out and ask questions and get answers from people who are experienced in it. I mean, and not that my experience is the same as everybody else's, but I sure have, from coaching for the past at least 10 years, a lot of knowledge of how to get people through this this dilemma of being 2 feet away from the ditch all the time. And I tell people, being away on a trip is not a reason to slide down that slippery slope, and it happens so often. And I say, have a plan. Go into your trip, your holiday with a plan, or else you're going to plan to fail for sure, because your addictive brain's going to start kicking in and say, well, you're on vacation. It's just it's and I deserve, and your addictive brain is going to convince you of anything it can to get you to reach for that food that is going to send you down the spiral again. I have people who do that, and then 3 months later, they come crawling back and go, "Oh my God, did I go off?" And I had a hard time getting back on, because you don't want to get back on. Once you get off, you're like, well, there's a little open invitation when I get back home to have X, Y, and Z that I've been, abstaining from. And it's a very, very vicious cycle. And that's why I feel like, yeah, people are in here writing, I see on the chat here, vacations are a struggle. And they are, because of the fact that it almost is like feeling like you have a free license to indulge. And then when you're fighting that thought process, it makes it even harder. And then when you're in front of the foods with everybody else who's indulging, it's even harder. And that's why I say this is one of the most difficult things to overcome, because it's in our face all the time. You're constantly presented with scenarios or situations where you have to have a plan and either walk away or have something planned ahead of time of what you're going to do instead. And I just think that if you really, if you're really serious about finally getting over this lifelong problem that you've probably had for most all of your life, and you're really serious about it, you have to make the decision that you do not want to go back over and over again to where you were. And so many people will lose the weight and then they fall back in the ditch. They stay in the ditch for a while. They gain it back. They gain some more. And then they're climbing their way out and they're like, all right, tomorrow's day one. All right. And over again. And, if you made the decision that that's what you're going to do and that's how you want to live your life, then you keep repeating doing what you're doing, which is going off track during vacation, on holidays, at birthdays, at weddings, whatever it is. You have to make the decision that no time is a good time to not be healthy and treat your body the absolute best you can. So, do you think that most people do better getting fat adapted first through keto? And does fat adaptation take a lot longer than we think it does? For some people, it takes like 4 to 6 weeks to really get adapted. I for sure think it's easier that going stepwise, if somebody is keto first. Going standard American diet straight into carnivore is a rough white knuckle road. And a lot of people do it if you have a strong enough why, a why that makes you cry. You have that strong desire, something, you either got a diagnosis or you're freaking out about, something that is happening, and you're really at your wit's end. And I don't want to say hitting rock bottom, but a lot of times it takes something like that for people to say, you know what, this is it. I have to just jump in. But for the most part, yeah, for sure, I think getting fat adapted first through keto is helpful for many people, unless you're just ready for, probably 2 to 3 weeks of a real rough road. And then, like I said, some people it's 4 to 6 weeks to really get your body into being adapted to this. You got to remember, we've treated our bodies like trash cans for decades. And for me, I know it wasn't until I was 44 when I found this and came to this. So I had pretty much 40 years of eating garbage. And you don't go 4 decades of eating, I mean, it's basically garbage. And, toxic foods, let's just say sugar, carbs, processed foods. You don't do that And then in a month or two, expect your body to go, hey, here we go. This is so awesome. I'm going to be awesome for you. And here's your energy. And here's the weight dropping off. You got to remember that's 40 years versus 4 weeks. And just, one of my favorite little mantras is be patient, be patient. You will reap rewards. I even remember for me, 6 months in, there was big changes, but then from the 6 to 12 month point, there was changes. And then the 1 year to 2 year, there was even more changes. It really takes time. It just takes time. And our bodies are remarkable at healing, but it takes time. Trash can is a perfect analogy. Really, I was dumping food in like I was trash. I had no, I mean, I don't want to say I didn't have respect for myself. I tried in the worst way, and with the hardest, the such an amount of effort to overcome this, and I still kept putting trash in the trash can. I just kept doing it, and um, it it just made me really understand the strength and the grip of that kind. Nobody can understand it unless you've been in it. And I talk here, I'm talking to all of you as if you all have a similar level of addiction. I feel like there's a spectrum of, just like there's a spectrum of alcoholism and spectrum of autism and a spectrum of marijuana use. Some people get high once on the weekend, and some people are getting high 3 times a day, and some people drink 1 glass of wine every single night, and some people don't stop drinking until they black out. So I'm just talking about, I'm just coming at it from a person who was seriously in the grips of the problem, and that it really took understanding that I was not going to get out of it unless I was able to abstain. And it's really a tough road. It's really a tough road. And I just, I feel so passionate about helping anybody and everybody who's in the grip of it to get out of it, because it is possible. And I have a whole group of people in my private coaching that have now, like, I think a lot of them are 1 or 2 months now sober from, and it's just so great to see how they're rallying together and um, understanding that all it does is take every single day to make that commitment to yourself that you're worth it and that we can do it. And thanks, Kelly. Yeah, I feel the same for you. I know you've been walked a walk of overindulgence too, and not having the knowledge of how to get out of it is so, oh my gosh, so frustrating. And that's why I mean, when I first came to this, I wanted to shout it from the rooftops. I really did. And then I realized nobody wants to hear about this. No, people are thinking you're like, what are you doing? You're going to have a heart attack. And then you're like, all right, I will just kind of sneak away and just be quiet and just enjoy it, but then I couldn't. Once more information got out about this and people were wondering if it's sustainable and can you do this long term, I'm like, yeah, you can. You've got Charles Washington and me and Kelly and Dana and Amber, and there's a lot of us out here. And it it really comes down to uh, you have to have your why, and you have to understand your why, and you have to do your research, and you have to keep listening to podcasts and YouTube videos and listen to the scientists and the physicians that are out there. And we're all, we're all really on board with saying, eliminate the garbage, eliminate the toxic foods, and be very, very aware of the fact that you can't moderate anything. You can't moderate. I couldn't moderate mangoes. I couldn't moderate strawberries. I put every other one of cleaning a quart of strawberries in my mouth. I can't moderate. So you have to understand that it's okay to abstain, and it's not restrictive. It's not restrictive to not be putting something in your body that is toxic to you and causes you such misery. So just keep remembering that it drives me crazy when I read often on eating disorder boards, like either on Instagram or Facebook, just to kind of keep on top of what they are proposing or talking about. And so much of the time they say, go ahead and treat yourself. Um, you can't restrict yourself. Um, and I just shake my head thinking those poor people. I don't see how you could possibly keep firing up your brain with dopamines with having a you know having these treats and expect them to be able to stay away from it. So let me just look through the chat here a second. Thank you all so much for joining. I know we're at the hour point here, and I'm going to hop off, but I want to do another one of these where I answer. I have a couple, quite a few questions I didn't get to, but and I've done it in the past, but do one related to eyes and questions about LASIK and dry eye and macular degeneration and all sorts of things ocular related. That would be a good one to do. And I have a lot of different ideas, but I love if you all just write in, ask me questions. I want to try to do a live more often. And like I said, I'm going to put the timestamp in the bottom. So with each of the different topics that we went over, you'll be able to just click right to the questions that you want to get to. So, all right. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate you guys coming and celebrating my 13 years of, I like to say my 13-year carniversary. And I hope for all of you success with this. And please reach out if anybody is struggling, anybody wants help. There's so many of us out here that offer one-on-one discussions. And like I said, one of my favorites now is doing the groups, because it's really, really instrumental in getting over hurdles that you haven't been able to get over in the past by having the support of so many people around you who are in the same boat. So, all right, I hope you guys all have a great night. Thanks for joining, and we'll catch you next time.